Oh, hey, didn't see you there. James Yeager, Tactical Response. Welcome out. I'm out in the middle of the forest, and it just happens to be a camera out here. Deep, deep, deep into the forest. I'm miles and miles and miles from anywhere. Actually, no, I'm at my range. I'm about 50 feet from my truck, the camera is. And that's one of the things that I hate about, not all, but most of these bug out and survival videos. They're filmed in people's backyards. You ever notice they don't ever show you 360 degrees, or they keep going back to the same place? And I got no problem with any of that, except for they never say they're out in the wilderness, but they always act like they are. And it's the pretense that bothers me. So I'm telling you right from the beginning, I'm at my range. We got 450 acres out here, so you could get lost out here. But we got a couple of springs and places, and I'm just going to use this series of videos to test some gear with no pretense. I'm safe, I'm close to my truck. I'm going to stay out here overnight and test a lot of gear, but without any facade of being in the wilderness. Although I could easily act like it out here. Like I said, we got plenty of spots out here that look like the human beings have never touched them, but without any pretense. And so I'm just going to test some gear. I put some posts up on Facebook and stuff and said, hey, what would you guys, topics would you like covered? So I'm just going to do a video where I cover as many of those topics as I can in a reasonable amount of time. And it's relatively warm right now. As I film this, it's in mid-February, and we have it's going to be about 50 degrees today, which is an average daytime temp for Tennessee this time of year. It has rained a lot. We've had more rain since the beginning of the year than we've had probably in the recorded history of the state. It's been really wet. And I don't mind coming doing this in the rain, but the audio sucks in the rain and the electronics don't do well. I can put an umbrella over the camera, but it just winds up not being able to communicate very well, because I've done them and I just couldn't use the video. Anyway, it rained a couple days ago. Ground's still wet, but the leaves are starting to dry on top and stuff like that. And so I'm just going to do some stuff. I'm going to purify some water. I'm going to build some fires and talk about some other stuff. But I hope you enjoy the video. But again, I'm safe and sound at my range. All right, now let's talk about our suspension system. I wear Solomon shoes typically. It's most of the kinds I have, and I wear these kind of light hiker ones most every day. They got a good suspension in them and stuff like that. And but if you're going to put a pack on, and now some of you guys might have ridiculously heavy 70 and 80 pound bug out bags, and I'm going to try to help you narrow that bag, lighten that bag. But ideally a bug out bag, depending on what's going on, I mean, 30 pounds is a lot. 30 pounds is a lot, you know. So, you know, if you can do it with 5 or 10, then do it with 5 or 10. But having said that, if you're going to increase the amount of walking you're doing, or increase the load, just like you would with your vehicle, if you're going to have a really heavy load on your vehicle, that's what you're going to do with it, or whatever the case may be. You might put better tires on it, or increase the suspension, you know, with airbags or better springs, or whatever the case may be. So you just can't jam an extra 30 pounds on a pair of shoes and expect the same performance. And so these are Solomon Quest Prime GTX. Solomon brand, model is Quest Prime GTX, and this is a brand new pair. I have 3 pair of these, and I'm using this as an opportunity to break stuff in. So what I recommend you do is don't just put all the stuff in a bag. Go out and use it, even if it's for an afternoon. Just getting the stuff out of the bag and using it, I recommend you do that. Each year we do our alumni only bug out camp out here, and I encourage people to come out here and test their gear. We had people here figuring out that you get really fucking cold in a hammock you know. And so we talked about under quilts, and they talked about building a fire near, not under it, but near it. And I'm like, man, you're just cooking yourself there. But anyway, so what they figured out was 3 seasons a year of plain old hammocks, about the best night's sleep you can get in the woods. But that one season, you're gonna have to have an under quilt, or you know, have to think it through. But even with a sleeping bag inside of it, you lay on the sleeping bag, it compresses the insulation, doesn't keep you as warm. Anyway, so I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to try these new shoes on. And even though I've got other sets of these, you want to make sure that they all fit you correctly. It's unusual that a same model or shoe would fit differently. But one of the pairs I have, the first pair I bought, and I wore them for a while before I bought the other 2 pair, they're like this. They even have that lettering on the side, but the other one has some red lettering right here. It's the same sole, the Contigra grip sole, but it had the first pair I got had a red emblem right here, but they look identical other than that. But I'm thinking, did they change something? But anyway, these are waterproof, so I think waterproof boots, it's a plus minus. So either your boots should be waterproof, or they should have drain holes in them. That's because either they're gonna shed water completely, or if they get water in them, they're gonna let it squirt out really fast. And so that's just my opinion. But I grew up out in these woods. I know a little bit about them and that stuff. But also for demonstration purposes, I keep a pair of, with all the boots, I keep a pair of socks in there. Now, typically I wear good outdoorsy socks. Now, we should all know by now, as far as undergarments go, cotton kills. So if you are into this stuff at all, you should not be wearing cotton underwear or cotton socks. Like you should get past it. Now, I know a pair of smart wool or other style hiking socks are, 10 or 12 bucks, and you can buy a 10 pack of cotton socks for that. But I'm telling you, I've got some wigwam hikers that are 15 years old that I wear on a regular basis. I mean, I've got like 10 pair of them that I wear on a regular basis. Like, I don't have any cotton socks that are 10 years old. Anyway, but synthetics, like these pants, every chance you get, buy quick dry pants. Quick drip dry breeches is one of my friends, Kyle, calls them. But the smallest amount of cotton you can get. But I keep socks with these. Even if I'm wearing a pair of good socks, more socks is always good. More socks is always good. And so as we get into this, we'll talk about more of this stuff. But like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood here, I'm going to change my shoes. Again, taking off a pair of Solomons. These are just some light hikers. They're not waterproof, but just my EDC shoe, my everyday walking shoe. EDW. These are my EDWs, everyday walkers. And when I break in boots, I don't tighten them up tight. I leave them. I'd say I tighten them up, let's say 80%. Just to let them flex and stuff like that, unless I needed to, then I would tighten them down. But in general, I find that people wear their shoes just in general too tight and cuts off the circulation. So wear them a bit loose. Just and again, I don't mean loose. They're not flopping around. If they're really too loose on your foot, you're gonna wear blisters and stuff like that. Oh yeah, if you don't want them to come undone, you guys know the double knot. Well, do the double knot. Other than pulling a Marcinko and cutting the loops off, that's about as good as you'll get from them coming untied. So as you notice, I took off my Galco medical kit. I'm taking off my Galco ankle holster with the shield in it. And we'll talk about what to do with those. So basically, they don't really fit right on top of a boot. What's this all a boot? They don't really fit well on top of the boot. But I got a procedure, a technique that I'll show you on that. What I do with them, and all this stuff that I'm going to show you on this video, all this stuff's in my Amazon store. And if you haven't looked at my Amazon store, I've collected a bunch of neat stuff on Amazon, stuff you might not know Amazon has. You might want to check out. And one of the ones that nobody looks at is the lifestyle. The lifestyle one. It's got the best stuff in it, like the stuff that my wife loves. But you should think about it. There's some stuff in there I'd probably get divorced over if I didn't buy her. So Salomon, I know everybody has their brand of shoe, and I'm not trying to sell you Salomons. I'm not a paid spokesperson for Salomon, or actually or any of these brands I'm going to talk about, but you should have a good set of hikers or two. Good set of hikers or two. And so I'm James Yeager, and welcome to my neighborhood. But let's see what else we can get into today. Well, if I can get through the briars, looks like I'm gonna have to go down the creek. I picked a great place to try to do this. Briars everywhere. Hope I didn't tear that bag. Try to cross the creek without getting my boots wet or me falling in. Bunch of deer tracks right here. Bunch. Tons of deer tracks. All right, so got these Survivor filters here. And so there's basically three. I got the water bottle, and I'll fill it up best I can. And if this were a real bug out, I would go for a deeper section, trying not to get my boots wet. I got a third full, something like that. And then the squeeze bags, I'll try to get them more full. I drank hundreds and hundreds of gallons of this creek water growing up. Tons and tons and tons of it. And never got sick. It was only as an adult I found out about getting sick from creek water. I've never been sick from creek water, but that's where I first learned about the bacteria and viruses and all that stuff. So when these squeeze bags come, they come with a red and blue carabiner. I didn't add that; they came that way, which I think is cool. It lets you tell the difference real easy and stuff like that. I just used one to fill up the other, of course, as you saw. But yeah, I never dreamed as a kid that I'd be getting sick or anything off this creek water. Drank, me and my brother Barry, God, we drank so much. And man, it's cold right now. It was only supposed to get up to about 54 today, and it got up to about 61, which is unseasonably warm for us. But the wind is coming from the north. It's hard to get it all the way full without a deep pool of water. Wind's coming from the north tonight. So got my compass. I'll talk about site selection soon, but because I need to select a site. But when it's coming from the north, it's going to be colder, and so there's that. And I've got this powered unit I haven't used. I did read the directions. A cool thing is it'll run off of, if you have a USB power pack, it's battery operated, comes with 2 AAs, but it'll also run off of a USB. So if you have your car, you have portable USB power pack, which most people do, I do, it'll run off that too. So that's a positive thing. So you'll actually see me using this the first time in the field. Make sure I get these batteries in correctly. I'm pretty sure. And I plugged it into USB just a minute ago before I came down here at the car, and it worked. Must have the batteries in wrong. Had a 50% chance of getting them right. Thought I had it. There it goes. So there's only one kind of, I don't know, thing about it that is you got to prime. This is the I'll drop the hose. So this green thing is that's the pickup filter that goes in the water, and then you have the other filter that goes goes into the clean water. Guess I could fill up the filter bottle with that. Try not to get this shit in the water. Come on. For demonstration, I'll clip it on here, let it filter into this bottle. I'm sure I'm fucking this all up, but so the only real thing you got to do besides what I just did, plug the 2 hoses in and figure out where the water's going to go, is you have to prime this. Oh, you can tell there's no production crew or no editing with my videos. You have to prime that with clean water. So I brought a syringe of clean water. And it comes with the syringe. And I think I did that right. I read the directions. I think I did it right. And I think if I put this in here, that clean water is going to come out of that. I see it moving through the tube. See here in the filter now. So it's going through the filter, so I expected that to take a minute. Now it's coming out. Boom. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. There's a hand pump model, which is what you guys, when I first showed these, was what you guys were asking about. I didn't get one of those for evaluation. I got the bottle, the squeeze, and then this Pro X powered model. And I'll tell you, I'm sure the hand pump might. I know you guys have a problem with batteries, but back when aim points first got popular, I had a guy telling me he would never use the aim point because it runs on batteries and batteries fail, And I went and talked to him about the battery life is better, the laser life is better, and da 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 da. And then I said, well, hold on a second. And he said, what? I said, don't you have a pacemaker? Yeah, the dude arguing with me about battery life on an aim point was wearing a pacemaker, telling me he didn't trust batteries. So as I look at this, the water level's here, a little over 1/3. So, so as you guys know, you guys that have filtered your own water, having water come out at that rate with you, you could be building your fire right now as you filled up a gallon water bag for you. You could be starting your cooking. You could be doing stuff while this thing is working. And so you might have a pump that works faster. I doubt you do. You might have a pump that works faster than this, but do you have one that you could walk away from that would just keep filtering water for you? And so the answer is probably no. That's a pretty cool, that's a pretty cool thing. That's a pretty cool little gadget there, for sure. Yeah, and if I had all this stuff on a Bugout, I wouldn't even worry about the filtration. The bags would just get filled up from that pump. The bottle would just get filled up from that pump, and that's how I'd run it. So you can run a timer if you want. Look at the timer on the video, but it's at the very near top of the water bottle, that quick, and I'm sure that's a liter bottle. But there it is, over the top now. I got no complaints on that. It's got a 3-stage filter process. It's all happening as I'm just kind of hanging out here. Again, especially if time were of the essence, or let's say I had my family out here and I needed 4 or 5 or 6 gallons of water a day. Who's gonna do that chore with a hand pump? So I'm not saying to put this battery operated thing in your Bugout bag, but there's gonna be one in my family Bugout system, I guarantee you, because being able to purify that much water that quickly with no effort. You know, think about combining tasks. 2 tasks takes care of one, whatever, or two tasks, 1 task takes care of 2, that kind of thing. Again, be able to throw it in the water, walk away from it. It's invaluable. So I'll continue using these things and doing video with them on the Bugout trip here. But I got to tell you, as far as I'm concerned right now, that Pro X is that's money in the bank right there. Money in the bank. See how it tastes. It'd be kind of hard to fuck up spring-fed water. The spring's about 400 yards from here. It'd be hard to fuck that up. It's great. I've drank this water today, just, you know, unpurified, and I'm not going to say this is better, but I've never drank water out of a filter system better than this. It probably filters out all the shit that I like out of it that's bad for me. You know, probably mercury and all that shit. But it's cool. Let's see how it works with the. I haven't used the bottle yet. The fact that you can squeeze the bottle is legit. Comes out at a good clip. Comes out at a good clip. For being filtered, it comes out pretty quick. That's legit. That's legit. Cool. All right. Oh yeah. So the Survivor filter Pro X comes with this bag that's perforated, i.e. made to be wet. So it's going to get down. It's going to get down to freezing tonight. So what I'm doing is blowing the water out of the filter so that if it freezes, it doesn't break the element inside of that. And that's any water filter is going to have a problem if you leave it full of water and it freezes. It'll break the plastic or crack the filter system or whatever the case may be, but none of them can survive that. But like I said, it even comes with the handy dandy syringe. All that fits in the bag. The bag will allow the stuff to dry so there's no risk of mold or mildew or anything like that. So it's pretty handy kit. Weighs, just guessing, pound and a half. Just guessing, somewhere around that. I don't know. Just guessing. Could be twice that or half that. I don't know. But pretty cool. I didn't put this back in it. So I'm gonna go up and play with the rest of this stuff. See how it works. So there's a lot of discussion on what kind of food you should take, and so I think in a bag where you're trying to make some time, I think that something laden with carbohydrates is good. I don't think you should be chewing beef jerky. Beef jerky's got its place, but I believe you need carbohydrates, and whole grain carbohydrates like in Cliff Bars or similar products release their energy over a broader amount of time. And so these you should look at, it's a basic math equation. How many calories does it take you to move 1 mile based on how many calories in this? So what I'm saying is this: if you know that you have to walk 10 miles, then you need to sort out what a person your height and weight, how many calories that burns, and you need to have that many calories in your bags. So I'm going to say it like this: if it takes you 5,000 calories to move from point A to B for you personally, then you need to have 5,000. You need to look at the calorie content on the stuff you have and have at least 5,000 worth in your bag. It's that simple. We can make it more complex if you want to, but we shouldn't have to. So these minis, this is a mini Cliff Bar. Let's see here, 18 carbs, which is fine, and 100 calories. 18 carbs and 100 calories. And this is a different flavor, but it'll be close. I guess I could have got the same flavor for a better comparison. And the large one, the large one is 43 carbs and 250 calories. So, the reason I have both of these, just let's say you need, whatever kind of push you need, or you might not have much of an appetite. So having more smaller ones, or whatever the case may be, or a variety of these things, might be the answer. And you've got to eat this stuff before you put it in your bag. You got to make sure that it doesn't turn your stomach in some way. There's no allergic reactions. You got to. Some kind of candy bar, or 2 or 3. And so, I mean, even you guys that are chubby, throw some Snicker bars in your bag. A couple of reasons. Morale might make you feel better. Okay, you're having a bad day. But any of these things, candy bar or whatnot, in the middle of the night, if you're cold, you can eat something, anything that begins your digestive process moving, and it'll actually warm you up a little bit with you when everything starts moving around there. It's not like getting up and doing jumping jacks, but it is better than nothing. So if it is cold, some bouillon of some sort packaged in some way. This is not a, you wouldn't want to carry a glass jar around with you, or some instant coffee, or instant or tea or something like that, instant tea or even brew tea or whatever. But I'm not going to take a big apparatus. I'm not taking a coffee press, okay? I'm going to have a tin cup and hot water. So something I can put in hot water to drink. And it could be for calories. The bouillon, that might seem silly at first, but your dehydrated salt, there's plenty of salt and bouillon to help rehydrate you. And if you're cold, or if you're just used to drinking something hot in the morning or something like that, have something around. And I've got some Splenda Zero here. I'm going to try. That's why I brought it, is to try it out. Is it? You know, I like my tea or coffee sweet, you know, with the sweetener in it, and I don't use sugar, but you know, whatever. So I'm going to just try it out. This is one of the reasons I'm experimenting with this. Another thing is some kind of no-dose, or this is called Jet Alert. It's a caffeine tablet. A couple of things here. Number one, caffeine for the, you know, short-term energy that it provides for that last push or whatever the case may be. For you guys that need, you know, you guys that drink a pot of coffee in the morning, you're going to need something, and you don't have time to make a pot of coffee. You didn't bring a pot of coffee. So taking some caffeine supplements might help. For most all of us that drink caffeine on a daily basis, if you go without caffeine for very long, you start getting a nagging headache from it. So you might be taking these to get away from a headache. Another thing is this: if you do have like a real headache and you have aspirins or Tylenol or something like that with you, taking caffeine with them makes them more effective. That's the difference between like the migraine formulas of most. When you see like Excedrin migraine, the difference is 200 milligrams of caffeine. So there's a couple of different uses for that kind of thing in your bag. As far as other foods, think about calorie dense foods that you can eat on the run that don't require them to be cooked. As far as I'm concerned, there should be nothing, no food in your bag that has to be cooked. And the tea or coffee that I'm talking about, that's purely for morale. There's no legitimate caloric need for that. It's purely for the morale. The bouillon, there is a real thing for that. I mean, you can certainly, instead of taking the bouillon, you know, if it's cold, you're going to want something warm to drink. But instead of taking bouillon, you could always take a Gatorade type mix, electrolyte type mix, or something like that. Also, if you're using water purification tablets, putting some kind of mix in it makes it a lot more bearable. But just think about calorie-rich foods and enough calories to get you from A to B. And you know, and good luck with it. And get out and try it. All right, what is a bug out? We get this a lot. Guys will say, well, that's not a bug out bag, that's a get home bag, or that's a get to there bag, or this a bag, or that bag, or whatever. There's only really two kinds of bags, and I'll tell you what I think. Bug out is if you look it up, is a transitive verb, and it has two real meanings. One of them is a retreat in a military context, and the other one is to leave quickly. And so any bag that you grab, if it's a book bag, if you leave quickly, that's a bug out bag. And sorry, my phone's beeping. This is the only place in the range I got cell service. And so what is there? So basically the bug out bag and the get home bag, some people use those interchangeably because they are interchangeable. But people, what there should be is there should be two bags: the bug out bag and the bushcraft bag, or a combination of those two things. But because bug out bag is a get home bag. So what is the difference? So a get home bag is meant to get you from A to B. And so that's typically a known distance from work to home, etc. A bug out bag is very generic, but it means getting you from A to somewhere. Yeah, B, but maybe we don't know. Maybe we don't know what that distance is, but we're going somewhere. So, for instance, to give you an example of that, I live on a fault line, the biggest fault line probably in the world, the New Madrid, and so the reason I'm into this bug out bag stuff, the reason I got all my family bug out bags and we got the bug out trailer and all that stuff is because it's a real thing. I don't know where I'm going. And what I mean by that is I might not go anywhere, but the power might be down and the water might be down and, you know, and all that stuff. And I might have to be able to generate clean drinking water and some power and communication, hear what's going on in the world for my family. And that's what the bug out trailer is. Even if it sits in my driveway, my house falls in, but my driveway is still there. Even if I set it up in my driveway, it has done what I want it to do. Even if I don't leave, even if we go nowhere, it is to generate that clean drinking water and food, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that's what it's going to do, and the test run of that thing went fantastic. So now bushcraft, people say, well, in my bug out bag, you know, you need to have stuff for snares and for deadfalls and, you know, an axe. Well, an axe doesn't go in a bug out bag. Axe doesn't go in a bug out bag. A bug out bag has food rather than tools to get food. Has food rather than tools to get food. And so the bushcraft bag, and I'm not bagging on bushcraft or anything like that. It's just, that's not what I do. That's not my forte. But bushcrafting is, if you think you're going to put a pack on your back and walk into the woods and live at all, you're wrong. When Jim Bridger went over the Continental Divide, he had 72 pack mules. 72 pack mules. So my thing is, I mean, I like axes. I like all that stuff, but where does it really fit into a bug out bag? It doesn't. So a bug out bag has food, water and water procurement equipment, and shelter. Now, shelter could mean a jacket. It could mean a rain poncho. It could mean a tarp. It could mean a tent, but it has shelter. And hopefully something more substantial than a jacket, but it has shelter. Food, water, shelter, and a means of making fire. That's pretty much it. Now, we can get as complex, as expensive, even if we talk about a tarp. We can talk about a $8 tarp from Walmart that's whatever, 10 by 10, or a $80 Paratarp that's 10 by 10. And there's a difference in them. The Paratarp's probably better. It probably weighs a tenth as much, but you know, I get it. We're buying stuff that we hope we never use. It's kind of like car insurance. I just want the cheapest car insurance I can get. Like I know there's better car insurance than others, but you know, I want the cheapest I can get. I hope I never use it. Kind of that kind of a mentality, and it's okay. But there's in my book there's two kinds of bags: a bug out bag, and people keep, oh no, that's a get home bag. Listen, a bug out bag does not have snares, fishing gear, axes, shovels, saws. That stuff is not in a bug out bag. That stuff's in a bushcraft bag. So just start calling it a bushcraft bag. And a bushcraft bag can also have water. It means to procure water, purify water and all that. It could also have food in it. It can have all the bug out stuff in it. But the inverse is not true. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on it. And to bug out has a literal definition, and I'm not talking about the fucking Urban Dictionary. I'm talking about a real dictionary. But bug out has a real definition: to leave quickly. And so if you had to leave quickly in an emergency, it's boom, it's what you grab. And bushcraft is a neat hobby that intrigues me. If I had more time, I would learn more about it. But it is unrealistic to think that you're going to walk into the woods and just live. And I think any competent bushcrafter would tell you the same thing. All right, so I've been tromping down in the woods most afternoon looking for a spot to set up camp overnight. And I want to talk to you about why I think a 22 is the best survival gun. So what I've got here is a Ruger Charger semi-auto, 15 round mag, rail, X300 and a silencer on it. And this is a pretty potent little game getter. Certainly it's not a 30-06. I couldn't kill an elephant nor fend off an army with it. But for the bug out survival guy, we're not looking for a fight. And so something, if I got into a pickle, something like a and take off running, this is fine. And the silencer does a lot for us if we have to hunt or something like that. If we need to stay quiet and we need to shoot something in the head to have dinner, it's going to do us well. But one of the main reasons is guys might be like, well, I'm going to carry my AK or I'm going to carry my AR-15, and I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that. I want you to weigh your magazines. Yep, AK mag weighs almost a pound more than an AR-15 mag. Then weigh a 10-22 mag. Think about a brick, 1,000 rounds of 22. Pretty heavy brick. Now think about 1,000 rounds of 5.56 or 1,000 rounds of AK, how heavy that is. You could carry 300 or 400 or 500 rounds of 22 ammo in your pockets without a problem at all. And so it's up to each individual person what they think the right idea is. And if I'm going to fight, this is not my first choice. It's not even my 57th choice. But if I'm going somewhere where I don't know if I'll ever get any more ammo and I might have to shoot small things to stay alive, it's really hard for me not to pick this. This is the Ruger Charger. Again, it's got a Holosun dot on it. That's one of the solar ones. It's got X300 on it. It's got a Atlas Defense silencer on it. It's small, it's light. It's a takedown model. I can pack it up small and light in my bags and stuff like that. There's really, we can have a discussion, but you don't watch my videos to discuss, you watch my videos to get my opinion. And for a bug out survival kind of a thing, a 10-22 in some configuration with a silencer is really hard to beat. One of the things that should be in your bug out bag are at least clear lenses. You have to have clear lenses, and I think I have forgotten mine. So this is a good lesson for me. The reason you want clear is because you probably be moving around the woods a lot, and even during the day, getting a stick in the eye is bad. But think about this: what is more debilitating than an eye injury? What other minor injury is this debilitating? Stubbing a toe, not even close to having a stick in the eye, or the irritation, the pain that comes from it. Even if your vision's not impaired, just getting something in your eye, that's you know, it's not good at all. And so clear glasses should be in your kit, should be in your bug out kit. Again, I think I've forgotten mine. I will hopefully not poke my eye out and regret that, but let my mistake be your lesson. So I'm trying a couple things. I've got paracord, and I know when guys put up their shelters, they use paracord and fancy knots and stuff like that. And geographically dependent, like if you live out in the plains, there's nowhere to put up a thing, you know, there's no trees. So I realize that this is dependent upon where you're at. again, this stuff that I'm using, Arcturus, this is on my Amazon shopping list. I'm not trying to make you buy it for me. I'm trying to get you to the places where you can ask questions like prices and stuff. A couple reasons I don't quote prices is, number one, I forget, and I've said them wrong before and made advertisers mad. So I don't quote prices, but who knows what year you're watching this video. I filmed it early in 2020. I don't know what year you'll watch it. And so the prices could have gone up or down, or whatever the case may be. But this is one of those fancy green on one side, reflective on the other side tarps. And I wanted to try one out. I've never tried one before. I wanted to try one out, and I also wanted to try the bungee cords. And the wind's coming. Check out my Kaminga compass here. I love this thing. North is here, and the wind is coming from north by northwest a little bit. So I'm thinking about putting it across here. Something like this is what I'm thinking. And ideally, it'll go up without a hitch. I think from here to here. I think I've got some natural hill and stuff here. I try to pick it, and I'm close to the water for a couple of reasons. Number one, because there's water there if I need it. But number two, I like the sound. It relaxes me. Another thing about the water is this. There's a hill here. It goes up in elevation several, I don't know, 75 feet. And so pay attention. So if it's cold out, no matter what temperature, it's colder by the water than it is on top of that hill. So like if freezing is a problem for you, like if it's really cold, don't be in the low areas, go higher, a few feet higher above the water, and it'll be warmer. The exact opposite, if it's summertime, you're burning up, it'll be 10, 15 degrees cooler by the water. Again, this is what I know to be true in the southeastern United States, and there are of course variables, but that's that. Also, when you're selecting your site, look around for dead trees. There's a dead tree right here just off camera, leaning away with a big root ball on it. So I made sure I wasn't there. And so I'm looking, I've looked 360 degrees. I'm looking up for dead things or things that are leaning. Because if the wind gets up, right now it's a late winter. There's no leaves or anything, but which lets me see the trees better. But I don't see anything dead or dying. And again, if it's a 100-foot tall tree, look 100 feet away from you for dead trees and things like that. Don't just look right around you. Look the length of the tree. Think about how far that tree would fall. And just down on the range, when we did our last alumni Bugout camp out, there were some people camping where there was a deadfall that didn't fall, and it didn't fall till after the event, but it fell about halfway to the ground and was sticking out, and I went and cut it down. But if I think, maybe hopefully they figured out I should pay attention to that. So I got a couple of different kinds of things here, bungee cords. Rhino brand is made in the USA. I don't know anybody at the company. I paid retail for these off Amazon. I don't know anybody at the company, but I've got a bunch of their toe straps, off-road equipment, tie-down straps for motorcycles. They make the best stuff. Like the tie-down straps for motorcycles is not just a hook; it's a hook with a clip on it, so it won't bounce off the eyelet. And that might not seem like a big deal, but if you haul motorcycles, when the trailer hits a bump and the suspension squeezes, then the hooks will come off. And so that little clip on, I used to duct tape them on. And then when I found these, but I've got a car hauler. I use their wheel straps, but they're made in the USA. I like pimping made in the USA goods. No problems there. But it's just various size bungee cords. I thought I might try them out if I needed to. And all the Rhino USA stuff comes with a storage bag, a fairly heavy duty storage bag, so you don't just have a knot of bungee cords laying around. And I've got some other ones to try. These are 6-footers with a carabiner built onto the end. And I know internet's getting mad at me now for showing, oh, that's too heavy to carry and blah, blah, blah. But that's what I use these for, is experimentation. Like, what am I actually gonna find out if I use these, you know? Will I find out that they're horrible? Will I find out that I should have been using them all along? You know, what could I find out? And it doesn't cost me anything to experiment and try this stuff out, and then we all learn from it. So if you're one of those guys who are just gonna poo-poo me because I'm not doing what everybody else does, I don't really care what everybody else does. Don't really care. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Again, it's not what I do every time, but there's nothing wrong with that. The paracord guys are going to get mad about it, but I don't really care. And let's see here. What I don't like about this tarp is it only has eyelets on the corners. So I don't like that. I like it to have at least one eyelet down the middle, because in the back it's really hard to tie down like that. So I'll try one of these short bungees. Which ones are the short ones? I guess the red ones are the shortest. I am glad they are color coded. And these Gorilla bungee cords, the hooks are metal. They're coated in plastic, but they're not plastic hooks. Trying to get it hooked here to a dead log. And if I need to put another log on there to hold it down, I will. You're never going to get it perfect. Perfect doesn't exist out in the woods. I checked the weather. I'm not expecting any rain tonight. Doesn't mean I won't get any. It just means I won't be expecting it when I get it. Yeah, it should be good. If it was lower to the ground in the back, that'd be better. I might try to lower it down some in case that wind starts howling in tonight. Well, got everything but the tarp. The ground's still really wet, so I'm gonna have to sleep on a tarp or something. Yeah, I wish there was one more in the middle there. That'd be great. Well, yeah, it's not fancy, but this is where I'll make my claim. I'm gonna scoop these leaves back there and build that barrier up from the wind. I think I got it. I think I pretty much nailed it. Feel the wind's gonna come from there. Okay, so I've raked these leaves back for a few reasons. Number one, might be more comfortable. Number two, gets me off the ground after I mash them down, it gets me off the ground about an inch, but the further I am away from the earth, the less it can drag my heat away from me. That's always good. Thirdly, forest fires. Not that we would have a big forest fire problem here, but raking those leaves around just to make sure that I don't have to get up, stamp anything out, or call the fire department or anything like that tonight will be good. But what I'm going to do now, you guys that have watched our videos and seen our contractor classes or vehicle tactics, you know we've got a field of broken cars. So I'm going to go down there and see if I can find any anything to make me be not as cold tonight. And what I mean is specifically, if you saw Rambo First Blood, I'm looking for seat covers, man. And he made them out of floor mats or seat covers, whatever it was. But anyway, I'm gonna go down there and see if I can find something to put down there without hauling whole car seats up here, of course. Something I could get on the quick if it were an emergency, and make myself a little bit more less likely to die from hypothermia. So let's go check that out. Let's see. So when there's bits of broken glass in the seat, the little cubes, if you take and just wipe it with your hands, it'll cut the shit out of you. So don't ever try to do that. Like just get a floor mat or something to try to get that glass out of the way, but don't try to wipe it with your hands. It'll just cut the crap out of you. Well, these are soaking wet. I don't know if they help me at all. We go ahead and get it out and go from there. Usually on the back seats you can just push them back and up a little bit, or sometimes they just unsnap. But this is a back seat here, and so you can get the upholstery off in just a few seconds, really. Just a few cuts, and got to be careful. There's metal stuff in there too. But it'll start coming off pretty easy, pretty quick. And you could use the upholstery or the foam. I mean, if that foam wasn't soaking wet, I'd probably take it and at least make a pillow or something out of it. But there's plenty of stuff to salvage on a car. Throw this back in there. That'd be a contractor class soon. Wishing they had a back seat. Wires underneath the hoods, things like that. And stuff that people left in the cars, cigarette lighters and things like that. I believe that stuff will be, cigarette lighters and things like that will be a premium when the time comes. But we'll just walk around here and kind of look at some of the other stuff that we could salvage, scavenge. Not much we could do with that plastic. There's somebody's left a knee pad in there. It's probably one of mine. So we borrowed. Whoop, my camera's come loose here. I'll just go handheld with it. It'll be shakier, but so it's the way it goes. This car might look like there's nothing, but this is the belt from a steel belted radial, and that you might be able to use that wire for something. It's not that brittle. It's still pretty flexible even after being burned. In this particular car, there's firewood, pieces of sheet metal and things like this that could be used for a part of a makeshift shelter. And of course, I mean, we're kind of leaving out the part where you actually just use the car as a shelter, and which is totally, totally acceptable. Just climb inside of a car. At least it's controlled somewhat as far as climate goes. Keeps the wind and the rain off of you or whatever. Might make a heck of a difference. Things like notepads that have been left in there. Maybe you might need a notepad. Again, just it's kind of like, what do you need, and what kind of imagination do you have? There's tons of little pieces and parts, and you might be able to pick up a weapon, if necessary. That's part of a windshield wiper blade, but that's a pretty substantial windshield wiper blade. Just use your imagination. There's all kinds of things that could be used. Pop the hood, pull the electrical wiring out. The battery, wouldn't want to carry it very far, but you could start a fire with a battery that's just got a little bit of juice in it. So use some of that wire from that steel belted radio I was talking about, and you just do what you're not supposed to do. Put the plus to the minus, and you can start a fire post haste. Cadillac, if you're gonna sleep in a car, you might as well sleep in a luxury car. And I'm sure there's other things, cars like that Pontiac right there, you could crawl under it, and if you had a screwdriver or something, punch the lowest part of the gas tank, and even if it's completely out of gas, there might be a few drips in there that you could use to start a fire or something like that. You don't need much, things like that. And this is where a tire burnt. Tires burn like hell. They burn hot. I mean, it stinks and it's smoky, but especially if you need a signal to signal somebody, that's what they used in Mogadishu. Black smoke from a tire can be seen for miles and miles. That's about all I got on the car salvage. What ideas do you have? Well, I brought a bucket of stuff out here to test out, stuff I've been wanting to use. And this is a folding saw, again, on my Amazon store. And let me remember how to put it together. If you break a blade, the blades are available at Lowe's, and so it's easy to get a replacement blade for it if you happen to break one. Oh yeah, I'm going the wrong way here. Doop. This is what it looks like when I try something out the first time. The blade is sharp. I have put it together before, but it was when I first got it, so. I knew there was a cam. Let me cut myself on camera here. And then you cam it back up. I have read the directions before. Got me a little nick right there. This is a pine, and it just happens to be falling and being held up. It's 6 inches in diameter, plus or minus, and it's rotten. So it's a soft wood, and it's rotten. So I'm not gonna act like this is a lightsaber cutting through it, but I just wanted to give it a try. Doing pretty good. Did pretty good. Did pretty good. And pine, the center of the pine that's got the most sap in it, they call fat wood. It's very flammable. It's pine tar. And so we'll see how this burns. But anyway, I just want to give this thing out a try out. I got another little handheld saw, one-handed job, but respectable, very light, and requires less energy than to use the axe to cut that in half. You think about swinging the axe, and we talked about calorie consumption, and so it requires less calories to cut with this saw than with an axe. Now there's things that the axe will do that the saw won't, etc., etc. I'm just giving you a different point of view, but if I can remember how to put it back in here, I'm just giving you a different point of view. And hopefully I am off my rocker. It's been a long day. I've been out here all day. Maybe I'm getting dehydrated. Maybe I've had a stroke. Holy crap. What am I doing here? That's that. That's all the way there. Don't look at me. I can't do it. I can't do this when you guys are watching. It goes through the end. I knew that. I knew it. I knew it. I already knew it. You guys didn't have to tell me. Watch me. It's just must be comical to watch me fuck with this stuff. Oh, you son of a bitch. I've got it upside down now. Good Lord, man, what have I done wrong? Ah, okay. You get to learn all of it right from me. You don't even have to do all that nonsense yourself. That's why I come out here to test this stuff out. I don't mind looking like a retard in front of you guys. But you got to get out and use it, and so I've used it, put together once. I've used it once. I need to do it some more before it becomes pretty habitual. You never know when you might need it in a hurry or something like that. But again, if you snap a blade, it's available at Lowe's. This is available on my Amazon store. Well, I'm losing daylight. I've already gathered some firewood and some kindling and stuff like that to start the fire or get a fire going. I have brought in some pre-cut wood for the big pieces. So again, like I see these guys out in the woods and they have all these logs cut, and I'm like, sure you did that with your camp hatchet. Anyway, so I brought that with me. But before it gets too dark, I've kind of run out of time showing you all the kind of stuff I want to show you. So I'll show you. Basically, I got my bags. I don't know what all you can see sitting here, but that brown bag is my Blackhawk. That is my Bugout bag that goes in my truck that travels with me around the country. So it's kind of unique as far as things I need out. The gray bag beside it, you may or may not be able to see. I think you can. It is one of the 12 bags I'm setting up, all identical for my family. And so I'm gonna use that as necessary, show that. Some other things I wanted to show you, what I'm gonna sleep in tonight. And then there's another big bag over here, I think it's off camera, that's got all my camera stuff in it. That's another thing they don't show you. They use 5 or 6 cameras, but they never show you they brought a truck with this camera gear in it, or a bag, or they never show you the charging apparatus or anything like that. But this is the SOL, and I know what you think it means. It means survive longer outdoors. This is the escape bivvy. And this is the best bang for the buck that you can get as far as a sleeping bag for outdoors. It's like Tyvek and stuff, and I'm gonna sleep in it tonight. I've used one before. I'm gonna sleep in this one tonight, and we'll see what the temperature gets down to. It's supposed to be around 40, which is not terribly cold, especially when you have a fire, but we'll still see how this works out. And let's see. Sleeping bag, I'm tripping over my stuff here. Sleeping bag, and I got a couple of these in different sizes. I saw where the guys that were using these reflector, because that reflects the heat down, they were using these plastic tarps. They were just using like sheet plastic. I found these on the Amazon. I got a couple different sizes, but some of these things are very expensive. These came out of the greenhouse or gardening section. They're actually for plants, but I thought it's a heavy duty plastic. It's got epaulets around it, and so this thing would hang here. I'll try to hang it up tonight before I go to bed, and it allows the warmth to penetrate through. This reflects it down. It's supposed to be very warm, but I'll try that out. I got 2 sizes, and this was the shorter one, and I found the prices to be very reasonable compared to some of the purpose-made ones. this is probably less heavy duty than a purpose-made one, but this is way more heavy duty than just a piece of clear plastic. And they come in different sizes. This is the smaller of the two. They're both the same width. I think they were 7 feet or something like that. And this one's, I guess, 3.5 feet or something like that. But we'll get more of this, more of that later. So I found this. It's a pull start fire starter, and the reason I'm looking at it is for my grandkids. If they happen to wind up with one of these Bugout bags, the little ones, I'm going to teach them. If this works well, I'm going to teach them how to do it. And yes, I'm going to teach my grandkids how to start fires. Also teach them how to put them out. So got a green end, got a red end. So the instructions: loop the green string over a log to secure it. Build a structure of logs. Pull the red string quick and hard to start. That's it. We don't wrap anything. It says no matches. Windproof to 200 miles an hour. Light wet wood. Burns 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Okay, well. Okay, let's see what we got going here. I've got some different size logs. I've picked up a bunch of firewood and stuff like that to keep from putting it on wet ground. Let's see, where do I want my fire? About right here is fine. I'm gonna put it on this to keep from putting it on wet ground, but I'll have plenty of wood. This ground is so wet, my pants are already getting wet. Got plenty of wood of various sizes and things like that here. So let's just see how this thing works. It says wrap the green around the log like that, and then pull hard to start fire. I'm just as curious as you are. What's about to happen? Whoa, shit's happening. Let's put some pretty big sticks on it. That's what it said to do. It's gonna burn for 30. It smells like matches. It smells like there's 5,000 match heads in it. And I'm sure my boys at Accu-Tac would have appreciated me using their fire starters, which I keep everywhere. But gosh, I know they work. So if you're looking for an adult fire starter, Accu-Tac. Well, let's see how long this thing does burn. It said 30 minutes. Sounds like it's not burning anymore. No, it's still hissing a little bit. But I know it's dry wood and all that, but it looks like there's a fire started. It smells wood burning, not just sulfur from matches. And I'm sure people are going to critique my fire making. Oh, you should have made it octagonal or whatever the fuck shape a goddamn fire is supposed to be in. These feel pretty wet. I put those there to hold it in place. Get some smaller wood on it to burn. It's only in the high 40s right now, say 48 or 49 degrees. And I've been pretty active, so I'm just in this shirt. I had, when I started out this morning, I had Under Armour layer on, but quickly got too hot, and I'm not planning on going back into that Under Armour, but we'll see. And the light being brought to you because I thought I would be finished with the videos by dark and just do some campfire video kind of stuff. Is a headlamp, which should be in your gear. in your bug out gear. It's a headlamp that I've just kind of put around the tripod of the camera. And it's doing its thing. So it looks like I got a fire going. Zoom this thing out. Pardon me while I zoom this out. Let me just change this a bit, so see if I can get myself in the video too. I think I'm in there. It's hard to see. So I had a technical issue just a few minutes ago, and I started talking about the Swagman poncho. I don't know if it got on the video, so I'm gonna talk about it right now. But so for that pull start fire starter, I got no complaints. I could see that working pretty well. Mine, you know, you always have to have a, oh shit, something went bad. For me, it's a road flare. I keep a road flare in my bug out bags, and I'll tell you why. Just like this thing worked pretty well. If you haven't read the short story by Jack London entitled "To Build a Fire," you should. And in that video, the guy can't use his fingers because they're cold and stuff like that. That's the video in that story. I can't use his fingers because they're cold, stuff like that. And I think big gross motor movements, striking a flare to start a fire to warm your hands. And and I've actually had to use it once. It was raining on us, and it was just at that point where if it had been 1 degree colder, it would have started snowing. So everything was soaking wet. It's raining. Me and my brother and another guy, and I lit a 20-minute flare, and 19 minutes into it, we did not have a fire. We got a fire going as that thing was burning out. As soon as it burned out, it started snowing. And as you guys know, in the snow, you can stay dry. If you can stay dry, you can stay warm. But we were soaking wet, so we had to get dry just so we could get warm. You know, and that was that. So road flare, it's in there. That's a neat piece of kit though, and that's certainly one that my grandkids could use and build a fire. That's certainly one that they could use and build a fire, for sure. And it's got to be 1,000 match heads in there. That's got to be what it is. But it worked. I bought 3 of them, and I'll let the grandkids try them out and make sure they can start a fire with them. Then I'll buy one for all the packs. Pretty good way to go with it. Something that other survival people don't talk about is taking a dump. And let me introduce you to the Glock 6, the most lethal Glock ever made. This is the shovel, and it's a favorite of mine, favorite item of mine. And so it folds out, lock it into place. The handle telescopes out, locks into place, and the end of it, it's got a saw blade in it. Put the saw blade back in. It's got a notch it slides into. Well, what have I done wrong? Anyway, everything's not going well for me tonight. Slide the tightening nut back over it, and now you have a handle for the saw. It works really well actually. But so it's in my opinion, it's the best e-tool, entrenching tool ever. And you can use it like a shovel or 90 degrees as a pick. And the reason I have one of these in my camping gear is you got to take a dump. And they don't talk about this on the videos, taking a dump, but you got to take a dump, and don't leave it out. and so cover it up. And so that's what I use that for. It's also good for covering up your fire in the morning, killing your fire and all that stuff. It's the Glock 6, the most lethal Glock they make. Well, I've had a little bit of trouble with my fire. It hasn't gone out, but it just won't burn hot. And what I think it is, as I kind of elaborated on earlier, the ground is so wet. It's rained so much lately. I believe what it's doing is heating up the ground, and the steam is coming up through the fire and keeping it down. And I can bellows the fire, and it'll go burn hot for a while, and then it fades back out. I've put some super dry stuff on top, some smaller pieces and stuff, and I'm trying to build it up again. What I want is a good bed of coals. There's some coals down there now, but I can tell when there's coals on the ground that there's no problem from the ground up, so to speak. And I know this wood is a known quantity. We burned it a couple of months ago at our Bugout thing, and even though it's been rained on, it's dry now. It hasn't rained in a couple of days now, and these were in direct sunlight, and they feel completely dry to the touch, but they wouldn't be soaked all the way through regardless, only on the outside. And these are burning on the outside, but then just the fire kind of dies back down. And this is the kind of the most I've had it going. It's not went out, like I said, but it'll just kind of die down to where there's no flames lapping. It's just coals, and I can bellows the fire, and it'll burn with flames for a few minutes, and then it goes back down. So I don't know. It's I have never had this happen before. I've heard of it from wet ground, but it's the first time I've experienced it. Well, I know it's really dark. I was hoping the fire would provide more light, and I'll leave this headlamp on, but this really just me talking, so not much to really see. I want to answer some of the questions and stuff like that that folks have asked. And so urban versus rural bug out. People ask me what I thought the difference was. Well, posture, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't just mean standing up straight, like you wouldn't want to walk into or out of a populated area with a rifle. So having a rifle that will take down and fit in your pack with all your crap in it, you know, a pack that's fully loaded with all your stuff, that would be important. This headlamp that I'm wearing, I won't call out the company. They make lights. There's an O in their name. Fucking battery pack fell apart. Just fucking, I had to tape it back together. And I was considering this, one of these, because I thought they were higher quality than this, but I don't recommend them. I've had some of their lights, and I wouldn't use any of their tactical stuff. I only trust Surefire, but I thought for a utility light or something like that, it'd be okay. It's not the case. People ask me about east versus west. Is like, you know, about 40% of our country is desert-ish, arid environment. And so east of the Mississippi, we got too much water. We got to worry about water crossings and, you know, and Mississippi and, you know, and everything. And then out west, that's going to be the thing that hinders you. You can see that fire's burning back down now. But water is going to be what hinders you. You can only go as far as how much water you can carry, and water's heavy. And so the biggest problem, you know, bugging out west is going to be hydration. That's 100% the biggest problem you're going to have. And I got to also say this, just in general, there's a, you know, permissive versus non-permissive environment. Like people are trying to get you or your stuff, or they're not. You know, like it's everybody's being friendly or everybody's not being friendly. The first, I think it's going to take up to 72 hours for some type of incident to happen before people start getting stupid. But surely I think you got 24 hours before they get stupid. But moving at night, if you are capable, with a night vision would be better. But if you're capable, even with like a headlamp like this one, set to its lowest setting, I think you're better off because there's less humans out. People's like, yeah, but they can see you with your light. I know, but there's less people out. What do you do? I don't know. But certainly if you were in the desert, moving at night is the only thing that makes sense because of dehydration. And I'm telling you, like a ball cap is part of everybody's bug out gear. Clear glasses, as I've already said, I'm hitting myself in the head. I'm walking around like this, so I don't get poked in the eye tonight. But no joke, shamag, scarf is protection from the sun. You can drape it over your neck, when you're walking. It's a pre-filter for your water filter. It's a bandage. For me, I snore at night, and if I'm trying to be quiet, I snore with my mouth open. I can tie it over my head like people when they used to get a toothache, and keep my mouth. There's a multi-use thing. Over your face for dust, all that stuff. But moving at night has its advantages, especially in the heat, especially in the heat. People ask me, like, how do you prioritize for the different emergencies? Well, if we say whatever, fire, flood, earthquake, if we say, those are whatever, the emergencies, well, what's going to be in all of them? Well, in all of them, you need food, water, shelter. People are probably going to have medical needs. So learning about, emergency care, at least, first responder, type emergency care. I'm sitting on a plastic lid to keep from getting my butt soaking wet, and I spread my legs out and I'm getting wet there. But to prioritize, like if in every category medical training is there, then that's your higher priority. Firearms training won't be the highest one on all those. It's just fun to do, so we wind up doing it. But think about how to prioritize all the emergencies that might happen in your area and go from there. So how to stay warm, whether it be with purpose-made products or improvised techniques and tactics. You cannot just keep moving, i.e. So what I'm saying is, like sometimes people are like, well, if you just keep moving, you don't get cold. Well, it can be cold enough that you still get cold. I mean, and could die hypothermic even if you never stop moving. And then there's the part about you're going to have to stop moving at some point in time. And so as I mentioned earlier, synthetics, in your bug out bag, if you live in a cold-ish climate, even in the summertime here, it doesn't get down hypothermic cold, but we can have 50, 60 degree swings from day to night and stuff like that. So having some warmth layers is good. And remember, synthetics all the way, smart wool socks and Under Armour base layers and stuff. I would have, Under Armour base layer, just the 1.0 is real thin, small, mash up about that big, doesn't take up much room in your bug out bag, but it pays off huge dividends. So, that's kind of the way I look at it. How much space does something take up versus how much does it give me? Like this Swagman poncho, this takes up a lot of space. I'm going to tell you tonight if it's worth it or not. I'm going to see if I can just sleep with that, just see how that works. Let's see, mosquitoes and chiggers and ticks and stuff like that. You should have a regional spray, whatever region you're in. I just sprayed, even though it's February, I just sprayed. My wife was out here earlier metal detecting, and she got home and said she found a tick. So I sprayed myself and my bedding and all that stuff with tick and mosquito spray. Just a few minutes ago, but my daughter and one of my grandsons, Bane, are allergic to bites, mosquito bites, And I don't mean like they itch and scratch like everybody else. I mean, it like whelps up on them and stuff like that. So we have to take, precautions that they don't, they get bit as few times as possible. So in all of the bug out bags that's already in there is bug spray. Let's see, creek creek crossings like this. So sometimes there's really big ones, and you can't just slosh through and get your boots wet. If the water's 3 feet deep, your boots only come to here. And so we've gone on hikes. Rebecca and I have gone on hikes with David Crawford, some of the guys, where we had like 30 and 40 creek crossings that were too big. You couldn't just walk across them, or your boots would get wet. And so we just would stop, and it was tedious and monotonous, but we would stop, take our boots and socks off. We put on shower shoes or flip-flops, or some of the guys had Crocs or whatever. The only legitimate time that I wouldn't make fun of somebody for wearing Crocs, and we'd go across these waterways, and then we'd put our stuff back on, and we continue on. And you can't, like I said earlier, your boots have to be waterproof, or they have to have holes in them. But just having boots that are not waterproof, that don't have holes in them for water to come out, that's a non-starter. And so think about, I already talked about, heavy duty boots for your bug out, and, keep them in your bag, near your bag, clipped to your bag so you can change into them. But you might want to hold on to your other shoes so you can do creek crossings with them, or, you can certainly do it barefooted. Take your time, be careful. Don't cut your feet or anything like that on what, God knows what. So what goes in a bug out bag? Now I'm going to go into that in a lot more detail when I go into the family bug out bags. I mean, like item by item. But broadly speaking, it is what is probable, not what is possible. Because guys want to put their bag together, and they want to have for every contingency in the world. They wind up having 40-pound bags that don't have food in them. And so food, water, shelter, man, fire. Food, water, shelter, fire. Like that's how you prioritize this stuff. And again, not what's possible. Anything's possible. What is plausible? So if you live in LA, earthquakes are a real possibility. Like, earthquakes that destroy shit. That might not be as true in, I don't know what states don't have many earthquakes, but let's say Kansas. I don't know how many. I've never heard of a Kansas earthquake destroying anything. So Kansas people probably wouldn't be worried about earthquake stuff. And so think about it that way. What is highest on the possibilities? And I know anything could happen, but list down the top 5 or 10 things that could happen, and order them in the most likely they would happen, and then prioritize for the top 5. So your jackets, every jacket I got is a survival jacket. Let's see what's in this one. Earplugs, good, and more earplugs, and that's all. Oh, I remember now. I took my lighter out earlier. This lighter was in here earlier. I'm glad I did this because I would have left it out. And then all of my jackets have a beanie of some sort and gloves, some type of glove. And and I'm surprised I don't have any more than that in here. But I usually have plenty of fire starter kind of stuff in all my jackets. So I got some of those jackets that have pouches all over them, so you guys probably have some of those. And I got 3 or 4 fire starters and tinder and all kinds of stuff like that. So I have, I keep the lighters in the truck. I don't smoke, and I have to buy lighters and put them everywhere. And I've always carried a lighter ever since I was a kid. Ever since I read To Build a Fire by Jack London. There's that again. So let's just talk about EDC survival, like the stuff you have on you. So I always have a fire starter on me. It's funny because I carry one of the Accu-Tac fire steels on my keychain, And the only time I don't have it is like when I give a valet my keys or something like that, like an odd circumstance. And so that happened to me, and I was in the blade show at the Accu-Tac booth. I said, I always carry one. And Chris called me on it. He said, oh, where's it at? I went, oh, the valet's got it. But anyway, but I always carry a fire starter. But I also always carry a magnifying glass, and it's tedious. But if the sun's up, don't want to work in the dark. If the sun's up, you can start a fire with a magnifying glass. But you should always carry like a pocket knife, things like that. Like, a gun, of course. But you should always have a light, a flashlight of some sort. So your bugging out might involve first you bugging out of the building you're in that may be partially collapsed or whatever, and the power's out and you've got to see to get out of there. And so we think about bugging out like just being with the stuff, like in our bag, but like I carry a medical kit on my ankle every day. I encourage you to do the same thing. If nothing else, you need to learn how to use a tourniquet. That's an important thing. Carry a tourniquet, learn how to use a tourniquet, but like be prepared to be in a firefight and start a fire every day when you leave the house. Somebody said, what's the best bug out bag? And I brought one of these just for example. There's that light, this awesome light. This is just like a 511 gimme, like from SHOT Show, one of those little backpack things right here. If that's what I got, that's the best bug out there is. That's the best bug out bag there is. If that's what I got, if this was empty and something emergency going on, I'd grab this thing first and I'd run through the building. There's a bottle of water. Boom! I'd throw that in there. Whatever. If I started with zero, I'd start with zero. Let's get rolling. If nothing else, in my pockets, I'd put a bottle of water. And there's a thing, there's a candy bar, or whatever. As I'm running out the door, hey, box of donuts, grab that. It's always time for donuts. People want to know what the best bug out knife is. Now, keep in mind that, in my opinion, that bug out is not bushcraft, and so you need a knife. You need a knife, a little knife. I always carry this is a Browse blade. It's a 3 something, about call it 4-inch blade. That's fine. Something I've got laying over here are some contractor size trash bags. What they're great for is if the leaves were dry, it'd work really great. Fill the leaves up. Use them for a mattress. If you had more, if you had like 4 of them, you could tape 2 together for a mattress and tape 2 together for a blanket. If you had nothing, 4 trash bags, pretty good stuff. You can use them for a rain poncho. You could carry water in them, not 55 gallons of water, but you could carry a gallon of water in them. So they're pretty versatile, pretty useful. And they go in our kit, for sure. 100% for sure. So I went by Walmart to get a map to show you guys, and I guess Walmarts don't sell maps anymore. Atlases. My wife asked a young girl, 20-ish, where the atlases were, and her eyes glassed over. She said, I don't know what an atlas is. And my wife said, it's a book of road maps. Oh, the books are, and she told her where the books were. There were no atlases there. I looked through the automotive section real quick, didn't see any atlases. Anyway, so the and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but gazetteer or gazetteer type maps are good because they are topographical and road maps. So you can see where a road goes and the hills. Usually they're topographical or they're road maps. The gazetteer, again, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or not, is the best. It shows railroad tracks, and this goddamn light, it's off now, I think, for good. Fucking thing. Piece of shit. Anyway, that gazetteer shows, what a fucking piece of shit. Fucking thing. Trash can. Well, I don't want to just shine a light in my face, but I want you guys to be able to see me somewhat. I don't know if that works or not. Crap. And that's my Surefire stiletto. But anyway, that gazetteer, that's a good thing. And then you get, and I was going to buy one and do it on video today and show you. You just tear out the page or pages you want, and then get clear packing tape and basically laminate it. And you don't want to write stuff on there like, this is my secret route or anything like that. But you might, like if you make them for your family, you might want to have the page and do something secretive, like your destination is always in the top right corner of the map. Like, so cut the map out and everything so that's the destination or whatever. I mean, figure out something without writing, go here or whatever, you know, this is where our secret stash is. Don't do that. People want to know what the biggest bug out mistakes are, and I don't know everything about all this stuff. But I would say not having a backup, like the light. You know, like you got to have anything that's mission critical. Think about the acronym PACE: primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. So you have your primary, your alternate means, your contingency, and holy shit, the emergency method. So there's four levels of it, but at least, you know, one is none, two is one. So have a gun and a backup gun, a light and a backup light, a knife, a backup knife. I carry 2 guns, 2 knives, 2 lights every day, every single day. And so anything that's mission critical, I would say not having a plan for that. Or a backup for that is going to be the biggest bug out mistake. So as far as being able to light a fire or use something to use for a shelter or whatever. See how the fire's burnt down again? Like, and the logs are still there. Like, it's fucking killing me. Best bug out rifle, I already talked about that. You know, who knows what your fight's going to be, but any rifle's better than any pistol caliber carbine, I'll tell you that. And I'll take a 10-22 over a pistol caliber carbine. I can carry more ammo. Somebody said, what's the #1 get home item? I'm going to say good shoes, boots, whatever you want to say, you know, and socks, whatever your footwear, good footwear, because if you're going to be hoofing it, like that is, I can't think of anything more important. After that, water after that. After that, either food or shelter, whichever, depends on your personal situation, where you're going, how far you got to go, et cetera, et cetera. People asked about water management, how to manage your water. It's pretty simple. Drink all you have. The biggest canteen you got's in the middle of your stomach. So your body's going to use however much water your body's going to use. So sipping it or holding off and being thirsty while you got a canteen full of water is fucking retarded. It's retarded. You got a canteen. Put all your water in your gut canteen. That's the best place for it, period. I don't care if you're like, well, I got this bottle and it's got to last me all day. Drink it right now. Drink it right now. Same thing. I mean, not the same thing with food. Food, you could go without food for days. It might not be at your peak, you know, operating level, but you won't die. And so that's an important one. Let's see. There will be no resupply. You know, not unless you resupply your own water or something like that. But there's no resupply. Somebody asked about what if you're being tracked by dogs? You can't beat dogs. You know what you can beat? The handler. All you gotta do is beat the handler. Those dogs won't go faster than that handler will go. And I know on TV they show them letting the dogs loose all the time. That's if they're like really close, like apprehension mode, but not tracking. They won't let those dogs loose. Those dogs will just, don't worry about the dogs. Outrun the handler. All you got to do is outpace the handler. That's all you got to do. Just outrun the handler. Somebody said, should you be the gray man? Well, if you're asking that question, obviously you think it's important. But I think what they mean is like having a camouflage pack or something like that. If you just look around in your daily life, people wear camo pants and camo backpacks, military surplus shit everywhere. I mean, college campuses, everywhere. You're not really that big of an outcast. I'm not saying don't steer towards that stuff. I mean, if you can buy a regular backpack instead of a camo backpack, sure, buy the regular backpack. But I don't worry about it one way or the other. Buy what you can afford. It's the best in that price range. Let's see. Somebody stole your stuff. This was a question. Somebody stole your stuff. You know, what do? You know, you had some stuff, but somebody stole it. It's kind of like I was talking about grabbing the bag and going for it. That's all you can do, man. Is like grab something and start sticking bottles of water in it as you're making your way through the world. You know, I wish I had something better for you. Somebody says, what if you're injured? You know, building shelter and fire and all that stuff. There are ways to build a fire if you're injured, but they didn't really say what injury. You know, if you got an eye poked out or a broken leg or whatever the case may be. The reality is, I mean, if you're immobile, you're probably going to die. I mean, I'm not trying to be a defeatist, but it's not looking good if you're immobile. So if you've broken your leg, figure out how to build a splint, some crutches, fucking get moving. But like, start crawling, but you're not going to make it. Like you can't just sit there. You'll starve to death, you know, eventually. People wanted to know about like inexpensive survival gear, and I've got some of that lined up. It won't work in the dark, but I'll talk about that stuff. So like if you got a, you know, fucking Bugout boom right now, you know, wherever you're at, I suggest as a backup plan having a cache somewhere. So as you like buy new gear, like, and everybody does this, you have a widget and you buy a new widget. So that second widget you sell or give to a buddy or whatever the case may be, and those things are fine. I'm saying have your secondary Bugout bag, all your stuff that you went through that wasn't the best stuff and all that, and put that somewhere else. That could be at a relative's house, that could be in a hidey hole somewhere, but put it somewhere else. I mean, think about it. Like, even if you just like had some fire starting stuff and some trash bags and all that, and just, you know, wrapped it up in something and stuck it in a culvert somewhere or wherever. Something happened, at least you'd have the ability to start a fire and stay warm and all that stuff. So you could do something with just about nothing. Hygiene. I've got some wet wipes over there and stuff like that. I'm only out here by the time I leave, it'll be about 30 hours. So that not really a big deal, but crotch rot and jungle foot and all that stuff, that's all real stuff. And you'd be surprised, if you've never done it, you'd be surprised how clean you can feel with a few wet wipes, baby wipes, and cleaning yourself. You'd be surprised how clean you can actually feel. And don't forget your oral health. You know, you might be like, oh, it's only 3 days, and you know, I'm not gonna worry about brushing my teeth. I get it, but what if it's longer? You know, brushing your teeth sometimes make you feel better. You know. And then shelter, built versus brought, and you know, that thing. You can build a debris shelter. I could have built a thing, a lean-to, and with sticks and leaves and all that shit, and had just about what I've got here, but it would have taken a lot longer. And so, like, I've got a tarp laying down on the ground just to keep me off the wet. But I could have just laid on the ground in this tarp, just got in the tarp and laid down, and that'd have been what I did. You know, that would have been fine. You know, so I mean, and the thing is, if you're bugging out, if you're trying to make time, you're not going to do any of this shit I did. You're not going to build a fire. You're not going to string shit up. You might have that thing, and you might, you know, after you've gone 15 miles and you're just beat to shit, you might just find a quiet place over in the corner somewhere, you know, in the woods, and just lay down and roll up in your tarp and sleep for an hour or 2 hours, and when you get back up, keep going some more. There probably won't be any camping out like I'm doing tonight. It'll probably be, you know, you're trying to get somewhere, people you love, trying to get to your family. You're moving, and so, you know, you're probably not going to do this. You know, only time you'd start a fire is probably if you were fucking freezing to death. You know, other than that, you're probably fucking just worried to shit about your family, and nothing's going to stop you from getting there. And that's where you got to be careful, you know, not to walk, you know, the bottoms of your feet off and shit like that, you know. So it matters, man. All this stuff matters. The right footwear and all that stuff. It all matters. It all matters, especially when you're trying to get home as fast as you can.
Check. Check. 5, 4, 3. Well, I got cold last night. This is the Swagman poncho. It's like a woobie poncho liner or a lightweight sleeping bag kind of a thing it'll zip up into, and it's pretty nice. I slept in that tarp. Plastic thing seemed to work pretty good. The problem was the fire. You guys that haven't been outdoors much might not appreciate what I'm about to say, like understand, but that was the coldest fire I've ever built. Like it really just kind of turned to ash. You know, I had coals and stuff going, and fire would come up every once in a while, but it was mostly the wood just smoldered. It never really burned like a campfire, and so that caused me to get pretty cold last night. I'm trying to stay on the camera here, and so I didn't sleep really good at all, and so I should have, you know, hindsight being 20/20, I don't know what I could have done to be warmer with what I brought. I could have moved up the hill away from the creek. I got a thermometer over here. It got down into the mid-30s here by the creek. I don't really know what I could have done. But when I had this pre-cut firewood is what I'm talking about. When I went and got other sticks, you know, for the kindling or whatnot, it would burn hot. It was this wood that wouldn't, and we've used it before, so it must have gotten so wet it just, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, there's plenty of animal life around here. We even have recently they've come back into the environment, cougars, mountain lions, and there's been a few spotted on game cameras and such, but owls and coyotes. The coyotes yipe, 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 and they're all around in here, and so it's interesting, and I like I like coming out and doing this stuff, and it's kind of like talking to the cameras, like talking to Wilson. You know, the soccer ball, whatever, volleyball, whatever it was. But I do enjoy the solidarity of it, but and the experimentation of it. I probably should have went ahead in the middle of the night and used that SOL sleeping bag just to see how it would kind of do. But I was trying to just use like one method all night to see how it worked, and so I'll come back out with a sleeping bag and give it a shot another time. But like I said, I've already used it before. And I've got the family sleeping bag and my real bug out bag that goes in my truck. I didn't get into any of that, so we got plenty of time to get into the rest of it. So I think what I'll do now is pack up and gather my thoughts, and go back to the shop and kind of do a wrap-up video. You know, do an ending at the shop after I wake up fully. Drink of 1 or 15 monsters, and just make some notes and kind of go over what I thought. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoy this longer format video. And if you don't, then just watch as much of it as you want to, and then turn it off. So I don't know how long this video is going to wind up being, but it'll be about 20 hours worth of me being out here before I leave. No, it'll be 22, nearly a full day of me out here on the range. I got here yesterday pretty early, so be nearly a full day of me out here on the range. So we'll see what it turns out to. Probably 10 minutes of video. But the camera gear and all that stuff, and charging apparatus for the cameras and all that, it's hard to keep going. This is been using the whole time this Rode mic that we tested out a while back, and so let me know what you think about the sound on the whole thing. You know, like, did it work good overall? I'm gonna get my Glock shovel out here and get to covering this fire up. Trying to think, but we'll do a wrap up at the shop. All right, so back in the shop. This is about 3 hours after I left the range there, the campsite, and so I've thought about a few things, and then of course, if you have questions, post them below. I'll see if I can answer them as best I can. One is I started out the day with a set of Under Armour, 4.0 thermals on. I should have put them back on. I got hot during the day, and I knew I had them, and I was just trying to, go about it. I didn't sleep well because I was so cold. I think that, and I wasn't that cold, just cold enough to be uncomfortable. I wasn't like shivering and stuff like that. Just cold enough that I just didn't sleep well. And I had that Swagman poncho on, and it kept me fairly warm. It goes down to about my knees, so below my knees were pretty cool, but nothing horrible. But those thermals would have just been right on time. Might have been perfect. So that's one regret I have, is not using that. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I wore them that morning. I took them off. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it got up to like 61 yesterday, so I should have taken them off, or I'd have been sweating like crazy. I should have put them back on. And it wasn't laziness. I made a conscious decision not to put them back on. In hindsight, if it's going to be below 50 degrees at night, wear your long johns. I mean, that's all I got. It's February as I film this, and my wife found a tick on her when she got home. She was out there doing metal detecting, and she found a tick on her when she got home. And so I had tick spray there. I sprayed everything down. I still smell of campfire. After I finish getting this edited, I'm gonna go home and take a shower.
But anyway, so again, as I said at the beginning, it's filmed at the range. No pretense of being out in the wilderness. It's just to test gear. I tested some gear. I got a few pieces of several pieces of gear I didn't get to test, but the ones I did, I'm glad I got it done. Check those off the list. You can't just buy this gear and throw it in a bag and just expect it's going to work when you need it to. You got to get out and use this stuff. I was super impressed with the pull strike match thing and all that. Like, you got to get out and actually use your shit. I learned a valuable lesson about the fire. Even though I had all this nice hardwood, this seasoned hardwood that was split, I thought that we had used previously that burned well. It didn't burn well for me. So I learned something there. The lapel mic, the Rode lapel mic that I tested out a while back, you guys helped me with. I think it worked great for this. I don't think it could have been any better. Matter of fact, I think it worked so good. There were a couple of shots that I was too far away from the camera. Like, I should have gotten, because when I don't have the lapel mic, I got to be really close to do stuff. There were a few of those that like where I'm talking about the 22 rifle and how much ammo you can carry. I should have been closer to the camera. I'm just like, freedom with this microphone. I'm just running around with it and stuff. So for me, I'll get closer. And that's all I can think of. Final thoughts, just as an immediate debrief. I always like to do an after action report. And so as I watch the videos, what would I have changed? What would I have done different? What could I have done better? So all that was, I'm sure there'll be more things, but for now, I'm happy with it. I hope you guys, this is probably the longest video I've ever put on YouTube. So if you feel like the long format, let me know. I might do more of them, but most of the time I keep them around 3 or 4 minutes. So this one's a definite departure. That's all I got. James Jacob for Tactical Response. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Remember, your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.